ready. This is day one. It's about the work. And I've said that from day one. It'll always be the same message. It's about work. You got to go earn your right every year. It doesn't matter what the players are, the coaches, expectations, where you were, where you're going. We got to work, man. Tell you something. I love this team. I got goosebumps, gentlemen. I love this team.
So what do you think about the secondary?
Just look at the names. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You brought in, you drafted Branch.
It started off with that huge hit on Beasley.
Barnes, we pulling things out. There's a big hit.
Really set the tone on Friday night.
Boom!
And he just goes right through Diamond to get to Rodgers, and Rodgers lucky to hang on.
Aaron Rodgers exits the NFC North as
We're in our window now to win.
Hey, and what's happening, Rock Down family? Man, we're pumped and excited tonight. It is Sunday night, and we're doing our Sunday night off the cuff, truly off the cuff. And we got a little bit to talk about tonight. So talk about the Jaguars preseason game number 2. We'll talk about the new intro video. We'll talk about some Villain Squad apparel. Hit that villainsquad.store. Check it out, guys. 25% off right now. Lions win, 25% off. Code Lions win when you check out. Give it a ride. Check out the store. I got one of the new shirts on again tonight. We got plenty of them all bagged up, ready to be shipped out. So check it out, guys. You know, get your drip going today. Support those Detroit Lions. Support this channel. And all right, I think that's enough of the old house cleaning there. What's up, Andy?
Hi, Will. How are you tonight?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. I'm glad we got microphones because we just fought with microphones for 25 minutes and then headphones. So at least we're in tonight.
I'm very happy. We got it figured out. So we're good.
We're good.
We're good.
Yeah. It's a loaded statement. So
okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, man. So the Jaguars game left a lot to be I don't know how I put it. The game sucked, but you know we didn't expect anything really out of this game. I mean, no starters, a handful of the top rookies sat, and it was as expected, I guess. So it left a lot, on the table for us to look forward to game 3, and then, man, week 1 just can't come fast enough.
Please.
I want to see these guys get out there and play, and I know that I've been lucky enough to go to a few practices and see the ones get out there and do their thing. But it's different when it matters. When it's all on the line, these guys play different. So that's what I'm really looking forward to is week 1. But I think right off the bat, man, I think we should talk about some of the winners because there was some bright spots in this game. And I think we'll roll right into your guy, the guy that you like, Chase Cota.
Yes.
He had a great showing on Saturday, and I'll let you dive into it first, and then I'll take over when you're done.
Well, right off the bat, Will, thank you. Chase Cota he continues to impress me, especially during the workouts. Last game last week, now yesterday's game, of course. definitely useful in the special teams area. And in fact, the special teams impressed me offensively probably more than most of this game. But Chase Cota he had a wonderful 27-yard punt return. I mean, kind of reminded me of Starling Thomas a little bit. He just had power, speed, looked like he was juiced up for it, looked real comfortable running, started to the left and he dragged his way all the way to the right. Nice punt return. He had that 1-yard catch from Sudfeld for the only touchdown or only score of the game that we had. Gave us our 6 points with a point after. So Cota continues to impress. He had that one catch that they challenged and got called back, which I'm still debating that one. I thought it was a good catch, but, referees felt otherwise. That was a beautiful catch regardless of the outcome. But I think Chase Cota's got a lock. They let Mims go. So, they waived Mims because of the injury and whatnot. So that opened up a spot. And I'm pretty confident, Will, that he's going to get that last spot as a wide receiver. No doubt about it in my mind.
I think I'm leaning towards that way too, but I'm not ready to give him the lock yet. He's had a hell of an offseason and even better preseason. He's got a long way to go. I think he's definitely a practice squad candidate, but after his last 2 showings and everything that he's been able to do in training camp, Chase is definitely earning his way onto this roster the right way. And that's, he's earning it and he's working for it. He's doing everything that Dan Campbell wants him to do and more. I think the biggest thing for anybody in Chase Cota's position is being able to be more versatile or getting out of your comfort zone more often. And he returned punts, last minute decision with Khalif Raymond not playing in the game, who's the primary punt returner. Chase Cota got a chance to do it. And you said it best. I mean, the guy's catching lightning in a bottle. His first punt return goes for 27 yards.
It was amazing.
Punt returning is not easy. There is a night and day difference between punt returns and kickoffs. Punt returns, they're up in your face in a hurry. Kickoffs, you tend to have about a 10-yard cushion if you're lucky, maybe 15, but they get on you in a hurry too. What I saw out of Chase is exactly what you're talking about too, is that first catch that went out of bounds. It was challenged, I believe, and overturned. He tried to toe tap twice, and he did toe tap twice, and I think that's why they called it back. I guess I don't know of this rule that you can touch the same foot twice and it would be a catch versus having both feet touch. So I'm going to have to research on that one. I didn't get a chance to for today. So if anybody out there in comment land has seen this or heard of it, let us know what you think. I mean, is this an NFL rule? Is this something that we just don't ever hear about? Because this is the first time I've ever heard an announcer talk about the same foot tapping twice. So let us know in the comments. So Chase Cota, he's a utility guy. You make your way onto the team through teams, and that's special teams. And in the way he's proven himself, not only in special teams, but also Sudfeld's number one target, for completed catches, finally got a TD. That's how you make the team. He's doing it all. Is he a lock though? I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see what happens this week. I haven't heard anything on the waiver wire today if the Lions are picking anybody else up today, but we'll probably know more tomorrow morning. Second guy I'd like to get to, who started off bad and then kind of had a little bit of a comeback in the same few minutes of play, was Stephon Gilmore. And this guy's got a ton of talent. He really does. He's just got to play within the scheme and trust his ability. I feel like he got way out of position early, and he got burned for 48 yards because of it. But then he turned around and was able to, defend a pass in that same series, which saved the touchdown. But if it were me and if I were coaching and I was the one making the decision, you're not going to be able to get burned for 48 yards and have it not go for a score if those are ones out there. So, the competition only gets more fierce and the guys only get bigger and faster. So I would say for that reason, I'm not really high on Gilmore just yet. He did get an interception by ways of a tipped ball by Tracy Walker. So it's good to see that he at least had his head in the game and he was able to to come up with the INT. I'm just not sold yet. You got anything to add on Gilmore?
Yeah, Will, I've been pretty much the same way with Gilmore. He does make some electric plays. I mean, on top of that, tipped interception he got, which, like you said, is impressive. That was another one of the bright spots of the game that I can look back on. But then there was the other one where he broke up that deep third down pass near the goal line, and he forced the Jags to kick the field goal. And it's things like that I see that shows the potential. It shows that he can cover a wide receiver. He can read the defense or the offense really well. But there's a lot of inconsistency with him as well. And I just don't know him going up against the number ones with any team if he's got that caliber of consistency to make it. So to me, I think he's another practice squad player. I don't see him becoming a number one there's no way. So I like the kid. I see a lot of good things, but it's not like you look at Brian Branch, how how consistent he was and everything. And he's not there with like a Brian Branch. So that's where I'm at with Gilmore. I like the kid. He'll be fine, but just it won't be his year to make a final roster spot. No way.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that, but we'll see what happens in the third preseason game. I'd say right now he's the last guy in, but the fight's going to be between him and like a Chase Lucas, who's coming into his second year now. So the battle's there. We'll see. I think jury's out. Let's just put it that way. Jury's out. We'll move forward.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll go with that.
So the next guy, another UDFA, Sterling Thomas. He was another bright spot, and he made a hell of a kick return, or he's making a hell of a kick returner. What do you have? 2 kick returns for about 63 yards.
2 for 66, and they were both very impressive kick returns. Will.
So for a guy that needs to make a roster, and exactly what we're talking about with Chase Cota, it's playing on teams, and you'll hear it from Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes both say that, if you're on the bubble, the best way on this roster is by playing well in special teams. You become a special teams ace, and CJ Moore was that guy. So CJ Moore, he was the Lions, gadget guy, if you will, but he was on the squad because he was a special teams ace, and that's the only reason why he stuck around. He wasn't that great of a DB, so for somebody like Sterling Thomas, he's going to make his way onto this roster by picking up what CJ Moore left, and that's by being a special teams ace. Whether that's on the defensive side of the ball or the offensive side of the ball, here's what I love to see about his kick returns. When he finished his runs, he finished forward, and he was laying the boomstick on somebody. He wasn't waiting to get hit. He was going after somebody and targeting them to take them out when he knew that he was going to get tackled or his run was just about over. That's what I love about defensive players taking kickoffs. Deion Sanders was the same way. He played on both sides of the ball, but he was a defensive, player at heart, and when he finished runs, he finished the same way. He finished forward. He wanted to be on top of you. He wanted to finish through you. That's what I love about this. Yeah, that's what I love about this Sterling Thomas kid is he's exciting. He's been fairly consistent. He's becoming a utility player. He's working his way onto this roster through the team's play. So that's what I got on Sterling. What do you got on him?
He's doing all the right things. I could see him, and I don't know if we want to start making this the prediction segment where we're going to guess who's going to be where, but the impression he showed me about the way he can run the ball, the power. I mean, let's go back to what you said, Will, about his 2 runs, his 2 kick returns. He's just got such power. I mean, for a kick returner, he's got the power is there. He's got juice in his legs. That was, I mean, again, I go back. That was one of the most exciting parts of the whole entire game was just watching that kid run. And he just like they had no problem in and just going in any lane of the field that was there. So I'm going to try to limit how we're doing this with guessing, but I could almost see him being practice squad for sure. And then I'd say maybe 50-50 on making the final roster cut. But I also have to see next week also, because we do have one more preseason game. So I'm not going to judge him basically, because a lot of people could. I'm not going to judge him based off this performance yesterday against Jacksonville, because like anyone else will, he could go out next week against Carolina and completely lay an egg and not be able to run or do anything at all. But he's one of the more impressive ones I've seen in a long time.
The good news is next week it's going to be primarily third-string guys and UDFA guys that are going to be playing the majority of the game. So
Right.
if he is playing, if he's playing, then he's fighting for a spot. If he's not playing, I think he's going to lock up that last spot. But I think it would even be too early to not allow a UDFA not to play just because he's going to make the roster. They don't have enough players. I'm on the fence with him only to the degree that is such a deep defensive back room. So it gets interesting with Mosley. If he's not anywhere near able to come back yet, you have a spot open. And it wouldn't be a spot for Thomas. It just, he kind of fills in down the line as guys would move up. We know that Brian Branch is a lock. And
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the Lions keep 12 DBs this year. I think they kept 10 or 11 last season. Whatever that number was last season, I think that they're going to keep one extra DB just like they're going to keep one extra wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. That's my thoughts. I also feel like they're going to keep an extra offensive lineman, but I'm not even going to go into that just yet. So Sterling Thomas, I'm on the fence. He had a heck of a game. Kudos to the kid for doing what he did with kick returns, because it's all about field position, and the Lions were starting about midfield almost every time the kid touched the ball. So it's a great way to earn a spot. Next, we'll move on to Tracy Walker. He had one bright spot that I saw, and that was deflecting the pass after he bobbled the interception. And what does that say to somebody? Like, well, how does it make you feel about him if he has a clear shot at an interception? It should have been an easier catch. I'm not saying that playing in the NFL is easy, but that was one of the easier ones to catch, and he just bobbled it. Thankfully, Gilmore was there to pick it up, but he got into position to make the interception. He bobbled the ball. He tipped it to Gilmore. It was good to see that Walker was getting the action, but he was relegated to mostly, second and third team that day. And I felt like Kirby Joseph and CJGJ are definitely in front of Walker right now, albeit kind of different positions. I would almost say that, if Branch was going to play safety, then Walker would be in front of Branch. But I just don't see that happening right now. So in my limited opinion on Tracy Walker, I still say that I haven't seen enough. I don't know if he's fully back yet. But thankfully, this is a loaded defensive back room where I don't think we need to worry about it right now. If Walker's if Walker's on the second team and Kirby Joseph is starting in front of Walker, I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it one bit. I think that Kirby's going to have a hell of a season. I think he's a better player than Tracy Walker. But again, that's just me. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree. And again, Walker, it has been limited with him. So it's for lack of better the use of the term, it's too little sample size right now. I mean, you're right. If the depth chart came out, Kirby Joseph, then Walker, that wouldn't break my heart either. I'm just looking at that goes to say about our depth on defense too, and in the secondary. So I think give Walker a chance. I don't see him measuring up to Kirby. I really don't. Kirby Joseph's just got that. He's got that explosiveness, and I mean, look at what he did last year against Green Bay. I can't really say that I would think Walker's going to have that type of moments, so to speak. But I think that's pretty much all I got on Walker. Like you said, Will, it's been so limited with him, so I can't even really make much of a judgment either.
Well, 2 seasons ago, so the season prior to his injury, I mean, the guy was all over the field making plays. He was by far the best DB we had on the team.
Yes.
Next to Okuda, but Okuda, I believe, was hurt most of that season too. So
Yeah, he was.
Tracy has it in him. I mean, he is a dog, and he's all about it. In my opinion, whether it's Kirby or Tracy, or CJ Gardner or whomever's starting in that position, we're fine. I think we're more than fine. I just have a feeling that CJ Gardner Johnson's going to be more in the nickel spot unless Branch really rises up and they bounce CJ back to safety. But that's yet to be seen. Branch is definitely making his way, that's for sure. Speaking of Branch, we'll real quick on the three that sat. So we had Laporta, Branch, and
Gibbs
were the three rookies that sat. So I think that tells you, what's going on. And we'll get to Jack Campbell here. Maybe we'll just get to him next. But those three guys getting an opportunity to sit tells me one thing and one thing only. This Lions team is serious about Kansas City. I know that they say that they don't look ahead, and they play for that week and they get ready for that week's game, but you better bet your bottom dollar they're thinking ahead to Kansas City. If they weren't, they would not be resting their starters the way that they are right now. They didn't rest their starters last season like this.
No.
And I think that tells you that either they're highly confident in what they've been able to put together in training camp so far, or they're more on the cautious side and just don't want to risk injury and suffer, a bad season after all the hype. So they're serious about Kansas City. This is going to be, I think, the game of all games for the Detroit Lions fans in probably 20 years. This is going to be probably the most important game that we're going to be able to watch and be a part of as fans in a long time. It's almost like a playoff game.
Well, and you have to understand something too, is that for anyone listening right now, and even if there's people watching this that aren't even Lions fans, you have to understand, people like Will and I, this is almost a Super Bowl type of game for us because we've never gotten this much hype. We've never been, we are in the bright lights, the opening game of the NFL on September 7th. And Will, I think I can speak for both of us how excited we are for this. But this is just a whole new dimension. And I know we say it time and time again, I've never seen this team this stacked and this serious about this type of game. So I actually don't even know what to keep saying, buddy. I'm just it's going to be amazing. Let's just go with that. Sorry to interrupt you, buddy.
No, it's all good, man. So on the depth chart, we were talking about Walker, and Walker's listed as the number one free safety with Melifonwu behind him, and Kirby Joseph is over at strong safety with Savion Smith behind him. I'll be honest in the fact that I liked Savion Smith. It was really tough to watch him go through such a terrible injury last season, but that kid's got it too. Savion Smith flies under the radar, and he's somebody that I'm really looking forward to step up. But the guy behind him, Joseph Brandon, is he going to make the roster? And we haven't really spoken a lot about him, and I don't have anything prepared for him tonight. But he made a couple of nice plays on Saturday as well. So I would not write that kid off just yet. There's plenty of opportunity for these guys to go out and prove it this weekend. And I would definitely be watching Joseph Brandon in the final preseason game to see exactly what he's going to do. He wears number 40, plays in the strong safety position, and it's going to be between him and Savion Smith if one of those guys can, stay on the roster. Or the Scott Nelson, I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, I don't either.
Right now you've got Kirby Joseph is a strong safety, Walker is a free safety, Cameron Sutton is the right corner, and Gardner Johnson is the nickel, and Emmanuel Mosley is the left corner. But Emmanuel Mosley is really not doing much right now, so you got to slide in Jerry Jacobs. And then you would have Starling Thomas behind him. So the more and more I look at the roster, I think Starling Thomas has a bigger shot than what everybody believes.
I can't help but agree with you. I really can't. I would like to actually ask you something, Will, and it actually has to do with our linebackers. So we did talk about how we had, Gibbs, Laporta. They sat, they're resting, but the one rookie who did play was Jack Campbell. He was on the field for like about half the game. He recorded 7 tackles in just over half of all play, and he just has so much poise in the middle of the defense. It's to me, when I was watching some of the tackles he was making and some of the plays, he almost seems like a guy who's already been there for a couple of years. He seems like he's in the right place at the right time, and that's what you'd like to see. I did kind of wonder, maybe it's just my lack of being able to read this sometimes, but they rest 3 major rookies, but they had Campbell into play still. Unless they wanted to give him one more day to really see what he could do, and they plan on resting him next week, I don't know. But that is another rookie in our linebacker core of the defense that I just been thinking about it, because he was impressive last week, and he was very impressive yesterday too. Another nice bright spot for the defense. I think he'll be high in the depth chart. I think they're just giving him more time to play, but for as much as I may not know it, I think maybe next week we don't see him play. I think we see him on the bench and resting for the whole entire game, along with Gibbs and Laporta and Branch. So it'd be interesting to see, but I still like that kid, Jack Campbell. I really do. Very impressive and nice player. And he really, I thought he played very well yesterday, Will. What do you think?
So was there a question? I'm sorry. Did you ask me a question and all that? I must have missed the question.
Oh, no, I kind of wanted to – I gave my take on Jack Campbell, and I'm sorry, I probably meant to ask you a question about it, but I gave my take on him because we have all those rookies that sat yesterday and rested, and he was one of the rookies that was still out there playing. So I guess my question to you would be, does the fact that he was not given already a second game like those guys of rest, does that put up any kind of red flag, like maybe they're still not seeing something in Jack Campbell, or are they just possibly giving him more reps just to prove that he's really worth what he is?
So, I think I'll go with the latter. He logged 32 snaps in the second preseason game there against the Jaguars. And he had more than any other, Lions linebacker that played in that game. So I think that it's a thing that Dan Campbell wants the guy to get more snaps so that he can get more comfortable with making the calls and picking up the speed and recognizing the adjustments. And again, that goes back to the calls and getting more confident with his voice and how he's projecting the calls. He struggled with that throughout camp and kind of gave, mixed signals, if you will, to the guys on the defense. And we can't have that. That's exactly what we saw the first 6 weeks of regular season last season. Was a lot of mixed signals, and that's why we lost a lot of games. And that's why Aubrey Pleasant was fired. So can't have the mixed signals. And I think that's why they left him in. They wanted him to play a little bit, get some more action, understand the speed of the game, and see if he would just pick it up a little bit more. But they did leave him in for an extended amount of time. That doesn't mean that he's not going to play next week. When you're taking over a defense as a signal caller, you're the quarterback of the defense as a middle linebacker, you better be ready. Everything rests on your shoulders to start with, and all of the calls come from you. All the alignments come from you. So outside of what, the defensive backs are calling to each other, or the defensive line is calling to each other, the middle linebacker is the one that's putting everybody, into position to start, and then from there it kind of filters down. So he's got to be able to understand it, and he's got to be ready for the speed of the game. And I think that's why they're leaving him out there. Maybe they're not totally confident that he's ready. And you've heard it from AG, you've heard it from Dan Campbell, both, that, look, it doesn't matter where you're drafted. It matters, who are the best 11 guys to go out and suit up, and hit the field. who are the best 53 that are going to, benefit this team. So if he doesn't get the start in week 1 versus Kansas City, don't be surprised. Matter of fact, I don't know that I'd want him to start at middle linebacker, or unless, Alex Anzalone can still make the calls. I guess I'd be more comfortable seeing Alex, Anzalone making the calls in such a critical game. So
Yeah.
I guess that's it on my Jack Campbell. I think it's just time on task, like Dan Campbell always says. They want to see him getting more reps. So, and there is the possibility too. Maybe he just hasn't really secured that number 1 role yet. We'll see.
Yeah, that's why I think I kind of raised the question, because I'm of the opinion that if they're already resting 3 of the major rookies right off the bat, and they still got someone like him in there, does that pose the question of, is the confidence kind of lacking, on the coaching side towards him? So that was kind of where I was at with that one.
All right. So who's next for you? Who else would you like to talk about? Who was high on your list?
Tell you the truth, I already talked about Chase Cota. Honestly, Will, I didn't really have a lot of guys that were high on my list for this game, because the game to me was so underwhelming. I was not excited watching this game. I'm just going to call it for what it is. It was a preseason game, which is meaningless, and I just didn't take a lot of thrill out of it, except for Coda and Starling and, Gilmore and all those guys making some decent plays. Aside from that, and Kaminsky, I'll throw Kaminsky out there. He's ready for week 1. He's still making plays. He's still disruptive. And I just, other than that, I didn't really have anyone, Will, that really just kind of came at me. It's the players I named off, Coda, Starling, excuse me, and Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell stood out to me, but I had my one question mark. But I'm gonna be honest with you, Will. No one really popped for me.
So what do you have to add on Kaminsky? You mentioned Kaminsky. What did you think about his game? What things did you notice while you reviewed the game, and what things did you pull out?
Well, Kaminsky, he was doing what he did last week. He's there disrupting plays. I mean, this game specifically, he had a sack and he had a pass deflection, and he to force a turnover on downs. So, I mean, he's continuing to do the things that he's designed and built to do. He gets in to disrupt the run. You think of what happened last week with that big Brian Branch hit. Well, that was because of Kaminsky. He was there to thwart the other offensive to get to him to make that hit. So it's the things like that Kaminsky does that makes him such a force to be reckoned with. He reads the offense so well, and he knows how to disrupt running plays and to get into the quarterback's face. And that's that's what makes him so dangerous. And I know I'm happy he's back, and a lot of other fans are as well. But those are the things with Kaminsky that I love to see.
So Kaminsky is consistent. His name should be, instead of Kaminsky, it should be Mr. Consistency. Mm-hmm. The guy just gets it. I said it a couple of weeks ago that he's one of the smartest defensive linemen on this team, and probably one of the smartest in this league. He was just back in the saddle doing Kaminsky type things. They call him the commish for a reason, and he commands that edge, man. He really does. He was forcing the ball inside again. He was allowing the linebackers to work in space, and the linemen, to do what they have to do to make the plays together. Whether he's bull rushing and bull rushing the tackle into the quarterback and batting the ball down, or he's just quietly becoming this powerhouse for the Detroit Lions that doesn't rack up a ton of stats. He's not out there with the green dot on. He's not out there to brag, if you will, or be in the spotlight. He's out there to work, and the guy works. He works his ass off, and he's somebody that shows up every single day to give everything he has, and it shows. He's playing like he practices, and that's the difference for some of the other guys on the team that I won't mention tonight, that are resting a hamstring. But, it's practice, practice makes perfect, right? We're talking about practice. It's simple. You practice hard, you're going to play hard. You practice half-ass, you're going to play half-ass. So Kaminsky's somebody that puts in the effort every single day, every single down, every single practice, and you're seeing that, what he's getting out of it is working. And I'm going to flip to the other side, though, for just a second. There's somebody that I wanted the Lions to draft. I don't know why this just popped in my head, but Tank Bigsby was on my list, for somebody that could potentially be available. I don't remember where he even went, quite honestly. Let me pull that up real quick. But anyway, I thought it was somebody that the Lions would have been able to grab late in the second round, and it would have been a fantastic addition to this offense. I'm not saying I don't like Gibbs. I love Gibbs. I'm glad we got him. But I mean, just something about Tank Bigsby. The guy put up 70 yards on us. Now, granted, this is up against 2s and 3s, but he had 70 yards in the first half, and that was mostly 2s playing. And this is a rookie, and if he's able to dice him up that much, what's he going to look like behind the starting offensive line? So he's somebody that I was high on for the Lions. He did have a pretty good game, but it is what it is. I just wanted to throw that out there. He's somebody I was high on.
So I know you like. Well, and you watch the way he runs. He's explosive. He's explosive.
Well, he makes good decisions, man. He makes really good cuts, and when he goes, he goes, and he doesn't dance around. He runs forward and he runs low, and it's hard to take somebody down when they do that. So. He's not a small guy. He's 6 foot, 2.25. I'm sorry, 215, 210, somewhere in that range. So he's not a small guy.
No, he's a big boy.
So, well, compared to you, what are you, 5'9"?
Yeah, all right. 5'9" on a good day, buddy.
That's right. So, next on my list, then, if you didn't have much going on your list, is I wanted to talk a little bit about the offensive line for a minute and how that affected Teddy Bridgewater. So, look, the offensive line has been this Detroit Lions Achilles heel only when the starters are missing from the game. When we have the starters in, we typically don't have any issues. What I'm worried about is this. The Lions didn't really go out and target anybody high in the draft. They didn't go out and target anybody high in free agency to step in at right guard and really solidify that position. They signed Graham Glasgow, who could be a backup center if we needed him to be, but he also can play the right guard position. And the Lions restructured or renegotiated, I should say, Vitai's contract to have him stick around for another year, take a significant pay cut. The Lions are hoping that Vaitai would work out. And I think so far he has, but we also have not heard a whole lot about Vaitai. And we have not seen a whole lot out of Vaitai. So my concern is this. If Vaitai goes down, that means Graham Glasgow goes in. If the reverse doesn't happen, if Graham Glasgow doesn't win the starting role. But if somebody else goes down and Vaitai is already out and Glasgow's already in, so let's say Ragnow injures his toe, well, now we've got to put Glasgow over to center, and we have to put Matt Nelson back in at right guard. That's a problem. And it's been a problem. Last season and the 2 seasons or season before that, Matt Nelson has been nothing but an issue. He's been the Lions swing tackle, for each of the last 2 seasons. But this job's probably in jeopardy, especially after the 2 rough, preseason outings. He was beaten for a sack on the first play on Saturday.
Yep.
And it didn't stop there. He struggled to hold his own all day long. He was in the tackle spot, so he wasn't playing guard, obviously. But it led to Bridgewater being under pressure all afternoon long. He allowed 3 pressures, last week versus the Giants. So I just, who's next? Who are we going to put in? I don't know. Jermaine Fetty didn't really do much either. So the Lions just don't have depth at guard. They really don't. and they don't have depth at tackle. They got Colby Sorsdahl. The other guy they brought into it, God, I can't remember his name right now. I did like him. Cecil, is it Brett Cecil or something like that? Brad Cecil?
Yeah, I think so.
But these guys are extremely raw. They're not somebody that's going to be able to step in and to keep a top 5 offensive lines, doing what they do. So caution to the wind is the Lions are going to be very active come cuts to look for offensive depth. I would not be surprised if they go out and try to get somebody that's, going to cost them a little bit of change. And I definitely expect them to draft an offensive lineman or 2 next draft. And I know they're super unsexy picks, but when you think about the trenches of an offense or a defense, that's how the game is won, is through the trenches. It's where it starts. You can't keep your quarterback upright, you're not going to win the game. And if you can't get to the quarterback, you're going to have a hard time stopping the run or stopping the pass. So it all begins there. So how did it affect Bridgewater? Like I was saying, he got his ass kicked. He was in there for like 4 seasons or four series. Sorry. And he just got his ass kicked. He was always on the ground. He ran around a little bit. He didn't use his legs a whole lot for whatever reason. He usually runs like crazy, but he didn't run a whole lot. He's in there learning a new scheme. He's using a vanilla playbook. He's been, only on the team for 2 weeks, and we put him in his first game, and he gets smeared. Not good. You definitely don't want to bring in your new number 2 and have him get hurt in the first game because you got some sketchy guys in there at O-line. So, granted, he was playing a second and third stringers. That's the only positive that I can say. Is if he was behind the first team, he would have been fine. What do you want to add to that?
Well, and that's just it. I can't on the offensive side of the ball. The one thing I will say is that I can't put all the onus on Teddy for this one. He just got here. He's our brand new number 2. He's used to a different. It's coming from a different scheme, a different offense, different players, which is common with anybody coming from a different team. But this kid came in and he got thrown right in. Not a lot of time. I mean, yeah, he had some warm ups. I know he was throwing the ball around, but takes a lot longer than the amount of time he's been there to learn a playbook, especially a brand new playbook with a brand new team. I agree. Well, I was shocked he didn't use his legs more because that's what Teddy's known for. He can run and he can avoid a lot. That the fact that he struggled in the box, trying to avoid tackles, avoid getting sacked, kind of shows what you said. It shows our ineptitude at the offense. I mean, Nelson was the reason why I almost could say borderline single-handedly why Teddy struggled so bad. I mean, he's the reason why Teddy had that fumble. He was not doing he was not taking his blocking assignments as he was supposed to. But and I like Teddy. We got to give Teddy a chance. He just got here. He's the best viable guy for Goff. Goff goes down. I think if they put Teddy again by next week, I really think we're going to have a noticeable improvement. And I got to add on to your point about the guard position, the right side of our ball, of our offensive line. I'll go a little bit further too. That if Penei Sewell goes down, then what? That's a big concern that people got to think about. Penei Sewell is the offensive line. He really is. And if we lose him, yikes. That's really all I can say about that one, buddy.
So there's a part of me that hates drafting offensive linemen, right? And the reason why is because a certain Bob Quinn did it, and coaches before him did it that didn't know what they were doing and didn't set up the team the right way. This general manager and coach seemed to understand how to build the team the right way. And so that's why I'm not afraid for them to take offensive linemen more often or defensive linemen as needed, because I have a feeling that they're going to pick the right ones. But, let me just throw this at you. Right now you have we'll start on the left side. Left tackle, Taylor Decker's your starter. Matt Nelson's your backup. Left guard, Jonah Jackson is your starter. Rookie, Colby Sorsdahl is your backup. Center, Frank Ragnow is your starter. Rookie, Brad Cecil is your backup. Graham Glasgow is probably your second backup before Cecil. Starter at right guard is Graham Glasgow. Vaitai is the backup. Penei Sewell is your right tackle, and Jermaine Ifedi is your backup. So who was in on Saturday? Well, the players that were mostly in on Saturday were Matt Nelson, Colby Sorsdahl, Brad Cecil, Jermaine Ifedi, and Bobby Hart was at right guard, and then Ryan Swoboda at right tackle. You also had, Obina Eza and Coyote Awasika, so guys that don't play, guys that are no business starting in the NFL right now. You've got 2 rookies in there that were getting a lot of playing time. And that's why Teddy Bridgewater had the day he had. I thought it was kind of idiotic to put him out there like that and potentially take an injury. So it's a position of need. It definitely next draft, and if not throughout the season. Like I said, there's a lot of cuts that are about to happen, and there's a lot of good players that are going to get cut. And this team is all about 1 year prove-it deals, 1 year, just kind of fill a need deal. And they could find somebody good and go do it. So as of right now, my number one position of need is offensive line.
I agree, because we don't have the depth, Will. We don't have that depth if something happens to any of these guys. And I'm not going to sit here and say if one goes down and we have to use one of these backups, I'm not going to say it's over. Because one of these guys, because one of these guys could come in and all of a sudden they play in a way they didn't play like in the preseason or training camps. But I agree with you. I don't like drafting players like that either. But it's going to get to the point now if we don't have that depth that we need going forward, you might see the Lions, or I think you could definitely see the Lions having to draft some of those types of players, because we got to ensure going forward that we have that depth, we have that insurance policy. You know what it is? It's almost no different than the thing with Goff not having a good backup. We needed something for insurance to keep the season afloat should something happen. We don't have that on the offensive line. And I share your concern as well, buddy. We need to have a clean offensive line going forward with no injuries, and we got to plan for the future next year if need be.
Well, no, they definitely got a plan for the future. And don't mistake what I'm saying here. I do like to take the trenches. I mean, that's how you build a team. It's just, when do you take them? How often do you take them? How deep do you want to go to ensure that you got somebody that can step in right away? It's just the depth chart that we have right now. Matt Nelson is a liability, and he's your number 2 backup. Obina Eza, probably just murdered his name.
No, it's Eza.
He's no better than Nelson. So both backup left tackles, they got to go, in my opinion, or they got to find somebody that can take that number 2 spot and be a damn good starter if need be. Look, we're not asking for a Penei Sewell to be our backup. But in my opinion, all of the backups they have on this squad right now are third stringers. I don't feel like we have a bona fide second string backup that can really come in and play and give you, even 85, 87% of what a Penei Sewell could give you or a Taylor Decker could give you would be, sufficient. If they're in there with all the rest of the starters, if you're plugging in, a second string guy at right guard, but he's between Frank Ragnow and Penei Sewell, well, guess what? He's in the best position possible. He's got some true pros around him that can teach him what he's, needs to do and can help protect them during the game. But it's when you put him on the outside that we have problems. You put a rookie on the outside, take Taylor Decker's position or Penei Sewell's position, they're going to rush you on the outside all day long. And that brings me to my next point. We're going to move on. But, man, I love to see James Houston do his thing. So last week, I was a little apprehensive about James Houston's new role and trying to understand what the Lions are really trying to do here with James Houston, but it's simple. They told him when he was cut that he just didn't have enough, of a skill set. He wasn't broad enough in the things that he could do, what he could bring to the table. He was a specialist. He was a pass rushing specialist. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with being a specialist and being very good at what you do, because he is very good at rushing the passer. And he does have a few key moves that, do work more times than not. But AG and Dan Campbell wanted him to turn into more of a 3-down, linebacker, not just a pass rusher, or a 3-down edge rusher, whatever you want to call him, because he's in like that hybrid role. We saw that this game, and we saw it last game. So last week I said he was a contributor. He was more of a producer. He was helping to set the edge. He was containing, his gap assignments, and he was able to push the ball in the way that they didn't want the ball to go, so that the other side of the defense could make the play. Well, this week he did a little bit of both. Not only did he set the edge and do very well at setting the edge, but he also got in on a few key plays as well. Let me pull up what I wrote here. Give me just a second. So he had, 4 tackles for loss, and he got a sack in the third quarter. That's a big day. 4 TFLs in a day, that's a great day. And you put a sack in there with it, phenomenal. So he had a pretty strong outing on Saturday, I would say. He's known for getting to the quarterback. The first game, like I said, he really wasn't being used in that role to rush the quarterback. He was being used more in off ball and covering when he needed to cover and picking up the run game. So this week he got a chance to do more of what he likes to do, which is to get after the quarterback and make plays in the backfield. So, I felt like he was really dominant. I felt that he had, used his quickness well, and he was able to evade and shed blocking pretty easily. Again, it's up against second and third stringers, but we've seen him do it up against some of the best offensive lines in the league too. So I'm glad to see that he's developing well, and he's getting a lot of playing time this season. In preseason, so that he can put it all together and be ready to go against KC. I'm going to tell you right now, James Houston sacks Mahomes. That's my prediction. I'll take anybody on for $5 as long as Houston's on the team. As long as Houston's on the team, he's sacking Mahomes.
Well, remember last year, everybody was high on Aiden Hutchinson, and nobody really talked about Houston. Remember, Houston had a pretty big year last year. He did really well, and he's only going to get better as time goes on. And I'll just call it right now, Will. I'll bet you $5.
You don't think he's going to sack Mahomes?
I think Aiden will get to him before he does.
Well, it's not about who gets to him first.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that, okay, let me rephrase it. If you were to ask me in a different way right now, between Houston and Hutchinson, who actually sacks Mahomes during that game, I would say Aiden would before Houston does. So that's why if you want to bet $5, I'll bet you $5 that Aiden does it versus you think Houston will do it.
All right, we'll take that one. So
okay. Good.
So you're saying that Hutch is going to get a sack versus Houston getting a sack. So if they both get a sack, we owe each other nothing. If Houston gets a sack, you owe me $5.
Exactly.
But if Hutchinson gets a sack and Houston doesn't get one, I owe you $5.
Yes, sir.
All right, we can do that.
We'll go with that.
Here. Let's throw a little something, a little icing on the top.
I knew this was coming.
I'll bet you an additional. You know what? I'll bet you a Villain Squad shirt. The commish, John Kaminsky, sacks Mahomes before both of them.
All right.
You
Okay,
in?
I'll take that bet. I'm in.
All right. The commish gets the sack before Hutchinson and Houston against Patrick Mahomes.
And no matter what, win or lose, we'll both agree that when it happens, it's going to be beautiful.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be amazing. I have such high hopes for this game. So teams defense is where I'm going to go next. Teams, special teams is what this game is all about. There's 3 dimensions to it, a game, and you've got offense, defense, and special teams. And I'll tell you what, in my opinion, the defense did a few things well, but they also did a few things not so well against Jacksonville. And when I look back at the stats, they had 2 kick returns. So the Lions kicked off, I believe, in the second half, and then after their touchdown in the third quarter. And Jaguars averaged about 23 yards per kick return. That's not the greatest, especially if you're kicking the ball to the 5-yard line, trying to prevent this new rule from going into effect. They're starting at about the 28. I feel like they got to do a better job. The offensive side of the ball, they're doing great. They're creating the wedge. They're picking up their blocks. The kick returners getting loose, like we talked about earlier with Starling Thomas. And they're producing. It's just the defensive side of the ball. I just didn't see enough out of them to make me think that, we're going to be good in this neighborhood. But we'll see. We'll see as it progresses, through this next game, because we got to see more offense out of the Lions for them to be able to kick the darn ball off. So they need more practice. They need more scoring. That's what it comes down to. They got to score more so that they get some practice. You got any thoughts on the team's defense or special teams at all?
No, I mean, I gave it to you earlier in the show about where I thought the special teams was at, but I gave the offensive side of it. Like I said, I saw the way Starling Thomas and I saw the way Coda returned that punt. Those give me positives that I don't think there's anything to worry about on the offensive side. But you're right, the defensive side, the numbers, they're not terrible, but you're still allowing that much of a run. You're allowing that much wiggle room for another team to come back at you when they get the ball. So I mean, that's just another area, like you said, that needs to be addressed next week during practices. And hopefully it's an improvement come the Carolina game.
Yeah, I just hope they get more practice in the game. On the flip side of that, so that was kick returns, that they were struggling with. Now, the punt returns, they actually did pretty well. They only gave up an average of 7 yards a return, which is, I don't know the league average anymore, but I would say that's probably pretty close to the league average. 7 yards, it's hard to return punts. It really is. And what the Lions are doing on the offensive side of the ball is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. But the defensive side of the ball, I'm saying the offensive side of the ball for other teams, not so good. So our defense is doing well on the punt returns. They got to pick up the slack on these kick returns. And, sometimes it's about where the ball is placed too and how well the ball's kicked. And
absolutely.
Right now, I don't know if, I know punting they're fine, but are they good, with Riley Patterson or Romo and who's really kicking the ball off? And are they doing, as good of a job with getting enough height on the ball so that the defense can get down there to make a play? There's too many factors that are involved. So it's special teams is it's a different one, man. It really does require everybody to work together, but the main guy kicking the ball has got to be doing it really well. So,
well, and I think the other thing too, Will, is that I think people really underestimate the importance of special teams on both sides. I think people, they just see it as returning a kick or, whatever. I don't think people realize how much of an impact those special teams really, really can make on a game. So we'll see where it goes from here.
Whenever you can start on offense at darn near midfield, you're starting around the 40-yard line. Huge weight off your shoulders. I mean, you've only got to go about 30 yards to start, getting into field goal range.
Right.
And that really changes the game, and it changes the type of play calling, because you could be a little bit more loose with it when you know that, gosh forbid you do turn the ball over. Well, at least you're not down at the 20, or the 10, where they could get a quick field goal no matter what. Starting at the 40, they're able to rear it back and toss it down, downstream a little bit, maybe to open up, their passing game. So it really does open up the playbook when you're starting at 35, 40-yard line.
Yes.
So I really didn't have much more other than Sudfeld. We know that Teddy struggled because, of the offensive line, and, he's just new to the team. He's new to the playbook. He's new to the verbiage. It's going to take a minute. But Sudfeld, not such a good showing once again. And it's kind of like what I said last week is he's playing like he's practicing. And I don't know how to say it any better than that. What I saw in practice is exactly what he's doing in the game. But then again, when I was at the last practice with the Jags, Sudfeld seemed fine. I didn't see any balls on the ground. I seen a lot of great throws, tight throws, accurate throws. But I also saw interceptions in practice versus the Jags. And here we go again. He throws one TD and one interception. So 9 of 18, 80 yards passing in 3 quarters worth of work. There's a reason why he got the majority of the game and Adrian Martinez didn't see the field. I don't know if it's as dire as everybody else is making it out to be, like Martinez isn't going to make the team. I mean, Martinez is a long shot to make the team, but in my opinion means absolutely nothing to this team. What I saw out of Martinez was better than Sudfeld.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that Martinez has not had a bigger opportunity. But then again, maybe they put Sudfeld in for the longest part of the game to see if this guy was going to work himself back onto the roster. And maybe Martinez has a better shot than we think. So maybe we'll see a lot more out of Martinez this week against Carolina.
I hope so.
I would really like to see Teddy get a full quarter, worth of action, but actually have a couple of offensive linemen with him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's
That'd
the
be
point?
nice.
Just sit him. I don't want to see Teddy get hurt either. It's unfortunate when you're in the situation of having to protect players because you might have something. You might have a team. You might be able to do something with it for once. And that's a great problem to have. So
Can I just say something real quick, Will? Maybe we call this Andy's rant, and it's just because I see the comments, I listen to whoever when it comes to stuff sometimes. Doesn't matter who. Can everybody stop already with calling Bridgewater a bust? I mean, I was looking at social media actually today, just messing around looking what people were saying. I cannot believe people – it's like they were expecting Bridgewater to come in and just be – I mean, there was people thinking Bridgewater was going to take over Goff's job. Oh. The guy comes in, no knowledge of the playbook. He had no offense in front of him. And right off the bat, he's a bust. I just wonder if these people, if they know anything about football, if they've ever watched Bridgewater throughout the years he's played. I mean, is this really – I know I'm probably making a big deal about something I shouldn't be, but it just bothers me because I'm going, the guy played 4 series, had no help, and you're calling him a bust.
Well, let me correct my mistake. He was in for 6 series, not 4.
Okay.
And I guess I could see why people would start to worry. I wouldn't go as far as calling him a bust, but 1 first down in 6 series. So a 10-year vet, I could see why people would get concerned.
Yeah, but look at the variables, though.
Yeah, the fact still remains, and exactly what you were probably just about to say is the dude was under constant duress. Like he had no time, and he couldn't even get handoffs getting off right in time because the pressure was so great. So look, he was 5 for 11 with 34 yards. His longest throw was 10, and I think that was to our boy Coda or Drummond. I can't remember now. I think it was Coda. It is what it is. Teddy's going to be fine. He just needs time. The thing that I worry about is Teddy's hand size is not the biggest, right? And that's what a lot of people talked about with Kenny Pickett, and I think that's why Teddy wears the gloves, is he wants the grip. And that's my only concern is he going to fumble? And if he does get under pressure, is he going to be able to hold on to the ball? So I don't know Teddy Bridgewater's fumble stats. I'd be interested to know. I do know that when the Lions played Vikings, Teddy couldn't do a darn thing. He kicked his butt all over the field. So does that mean anything?
No, I'm trying to figure out what you said now. You got me going now. How many fumbles does Teddy Bridgewater have?
I don't know.
No, that's what I'm looking. He has 19 fumbles in his career.
Yes. So 19 fumbles in 10 years?
Yeah. He got drafted in 14, and he's had that many fumbles since. I don't know. I'm not going to – you know what? I'm not going to raise a big argument about this. It's just something I noticed. And, Will, it doesn't take much to rile me up sometimes. And I guess that just really – it just bothered me. It's like, everybody stop. He didn't have any help. Let it be. He'll be fine. And that's it. I'm done. Sorry, buddy. I'm done.
Well, it is what it is, man. So to wrap it up,
I know.
What we saw out of the Jacksonville game was underwhelming. I think Andy said it best. There wasn't a whole lot going on there that would make us feel comfortable in our second and third, options if we were to have to, dig that deep into the roster. I think where it does leave us, though, is there's some good spots. We saw James Houston do well. We saw Kaminsky be, super Mr. Consistent as he always is. And Jack Campbell got a lot of playing time, and he did well, too. There was, in my opinion, too much running game going on for the Lions. They gave up too many yards, especially 70 to a rookie, behind a second-string offensive line. Jack Campbell should have been able to thump a little bit more and been able to do something about that. I got to go back and watch the tape a little closer, though, to see how many of those yards came through Jack Campbell's gap assignments or, in his neck of the woods, his box. So
Right.
But in all, I think that, as Lions fans, I think we're headed down the right path. I think that this team is headed in the right direction. You got a ton of money left over, so when cuts happen here in a couple of weeks, I think the Lions are going to be very active. I really do.
They will.
I don't think that this team is anywhere near set yet. I think they've just begun. So that's all I have. How would you like to finish on your side tonight, Andy?
Well, I just want to say that, as always, Will and I, myself, we appreciate everyone's support. Again, please hit the like, subscribe button. Give us some good support. We appreciate all of you. As Will said here, he's got some cool Villain Squad apparel that we're releasing. And if anybody saw it.
Oh, it's released.
Yes, it is released.
VillainSquad.store. Go get it.
Go get your stuff. It's really good stuff. And our new intro that we just launched today, I got to give a big shout out to my boy, Mr. Will Rock here, putting a lot of work on that. And Will, I love it. And everyone else who might have saw it, I hope you did too, because that's our new intro and it's amazing. My buddy Will
working on it.
Did a fantastic job on it though, buddy. And I'm telling you, I appreciate it. Looks really good.
Not bad for a rough draft anyway.
It looks great, but back to the game, I just have to say, I mean, I kind of gave everybody kind of saw my sour attitude towards this thing. I was just very underwhelmed. I know it's preseason, so I guess maybe who cares, but yeah, and maybe I'm part of that hype train. Maybe I just expected to see a little bit more. Maybe I just expected too much more than what I was really going to get. But as Will alluded to, it's true. We're on a good trajectory here. And I think when the cuts happen, I think we will see some changes and some moves, especially before September 7th. Our injuries, I know Mosley's looking like he's going to be back week 2. He's still on the PUP list. I'll be anxious to see you get on the field with all the normal starters and everything. But we're excited about the Lions home opener. I know we got one more preseason game, but I know we can't say it enough. I'm probably about as excited as a little kid in a candy store waiting for this game. So, Will, that's all I've got for tonight. as always, my friend, it's a pleasure. And I think this team has still got good things coming for it.
Oh, I do too. And yeah, thanks everybody for joining in tonight. We're still having trouble with our chat. We had a lot of issues just trying to get online tonight.
Yeah.
So I apologize about the chat. We don't know what's going on with it, but we'll try to get it fixed here soon. I'll look into it tomorrow, actually. But I appreciate everybody for jumping on. Please send us your comments on all of the socials. Please click the link tree and check out the villainsquad.store. And if you've recently followed the Detroit Lions group, we just added 500 followers in the last week. Please head over to the Rock Down Detroit Lions page and do the same. Like, subscribe, check out the YouTube. Hey, that's all we need for your support. We could just use a simple like and a subscribe, and that helps us out. We'll do the rest from there. And we'd love to see you guys, get an opportunity to buy some of our merchandise that helps support us and our equipment and our ideas that we have coming for some awesome, content series that we're going to push 365 days a year. So that's all we have for tonight. And we'll look forward to you guys' comments and see you all on Friday. If you don't see a midweek pop-up, that's all for Rock Down Detroit Lions. Go Lions, one pride. We'll see you all in a few days.
So, we look like we're ready. This is day one. It's about the work. And I've said that from day one. It'll always be the same message. It's about work. You got to go earn your right every year. It doesn't matter what the players are, the coaches, expectations, where you were, where you're going. We got to work, man. Tell you something. I love this team. I got goosebumps, gentlemen. I love this team.
So what do you think about the secondary?
Just look at the names. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You drafted Branch.
It started off with that huge hit on Beasley.
Barnes, McCollum things out. There's a big hit.
Really set the tone on Friday night.
Boom!
And he just goes right through Diamond to get to Rodgers, and Rodgers lucky to hang on.
Aaron Rodgers exits the NFC North as
We're in our window now to win.
So, we look like we're ready. This is day one. It's about the work. And I've said that from day one. It'll always be the same message. It's about work. You got to go earn your right every year. It doesn't matter what the players are, the coaches, expectations, where you were, where you're going. We got to work, man. it up. Let me tell you something. I love this team. I got goosebumps, gentlemen. I love this team.
So what do you think about the secondary?
Just look at the names. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You drafted Branch.
It started off with that huge hit on Beasley.
Barnes, McCollum things out. There's a big hit.
Really set the tone on Friday night.
Boom!
And he just goes right through Diamond to get to Rodgers, and Rodgers lucky to hang on.
Aaron Rodgers exits the NFC North as
We're in our window now to win.